Paradise Lost. Found it.
Hello everyone, my name is Jerry. Welcome to Kill the Cast. Today we have a special episode that we're going to get into, but as always, I am joined by the ever-quotable Jay.
It's gonna get wet in here tonight. Lace up your boots, kiddies.
That was a good one. I like that one. And the Silent Hill biker himself, Kenneth.
Yep, I'm always here and have a whole lot of shit to say.
As always. But we are joined by an even special guest who is here to grace all of us with his presence, and that would be Leslie Vernon, the man behind the mask, Nathan. I was about to say Baesel.
Baesel.
I know, but I was about to say Baesel. I don't know why.
You've ruined it.
I've ruined everything. Nathan, Baesel, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. It's good to talk to you guys.
All right. So before we get into anything, Jay, what have you been doing this past week?
Working like a motherfucker, man. Our department is so understaffed, it's ridiculous.
I know those.
I've had the other day. I had to do I had to tell the system I took a lunch and then keep working because there was just no way to get it all done.
I almost did that today, actually. Kenneth, what have you been up to?
Selling Girl Scout cookies. My daughter, man, I'm telling you, I've never seen something that is so just crazy and keeps you on your toes as selling Girl Scout cookies. You wouldn't think it, but when you get out there, man, I mean, these people are ruthless, you know?
I might punch someone in the face for a box of tag-alongs. I'm just saying.
I'm telling you, man. I mean, it's like you get out there and people are nuts. They're like, Girl Scout, Girl Scout, Girl Scout. And I'm like, hey, man, take a step back. Let my daughter breathe.
Oh, that's fair enough. Nathan, what have you been up to?
Oh gosh, I don't even too much to break it down, but yeah, things have been busy, and yeah, I don't know.
It's probably a good thing in your line of work, I would imagine.
Oh, not professionally, just life has been busy.
Oh, gotcha.
You know how it does.
Absolutely.
It just runs away with you sometimes.
That's true. I can feel you on that. As for me, I've been doing nothing. I got more Laserdisc in, so I'm excited about that. I got Jason and the Argonauts on Laserdisc, and I'm super excited to watch that again.
Classic.
Yeah, and I got Jaws 2, and I got the Abbott and Costello Meet the Monsters collection, so I'm really excited to watch Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein in black and white on my TV.
Yeah.
Even though I have the movie like 3 times now on Blu-ray, why not have it on Laserdisc? So
they play it on Svengoolie all the time, and the whole collection of Abbott and Costello with the Universal monsters. And do you guys ever watch Svengoolie? It's
yes.
On Saturday nights. Yeah, they play it a lot there. So me and my boys have had a chance to watch those movies a lot.
Yeah.
Awesome.
The only thing I'm upset about is the box set Laserdisc that I got does not all of the collections of the Abbott and Costello Meet the Monsters always excludes Abbott and Costello Meet the Killer, which is where they do a movie with Boris Karloff, but he's not Frankenstein's monster or anything like that. He's just a random killer.
Right. I think I've seen that one too.
And it's really good. It's really, really good, but it's not on there. So that's
Boris
one that I still have to
Karloff
get.
is really, really good. He's such a good actor.
Have you ever seen the movie from 1934 called The Black Cat with Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff?
Yes, I have. They played it on Svengoolie. I had a chance to watch it there. Yeah, wow. The two of them together, especially after a movie like Ed Wood, where it feels like you have a sense that Boris Karloff was almost a nemesis of Bela
Lugosi.
It's really interesting to see the two of them together. It's almost like Heat, with De Niro and Pacino.
Which
right.
Jerry has a copy that I gave him that
I
he
will
still
watch
hasn't
it.
watched yet.
I swear, Jay, I will watch it. Also, I have Ed Wood on Blu-ray. I love that movie. It is fantastic. So, well, without further ado, guys, we've got questions for Mr. Nathan here. Now, one thing I want to touch on real quick Nathan, instead of leaving it to the end, I want you to kind of pimp it out now. You teach acting, correct?
Oh yeah.
At Deviate Studios.
Yep.
So give us a rundown of what that's like. What's going on there?
We're doing something that we like to think is pretty new. It's a real collaboration between the idea of what an acting studio traditionally is, and also a heavy interest that my partner and I have in working on the production end of things. And so we're integrating those two components in a way that we feel is really exciting and really unique. Certainly from having had a lot of acting classes, I can tell you I've never had one like this, and one that I feel like is I think positioned to get really, really good results consistently. So I'm excited about the curriculum with where it's at and where it's continuing to go.
Yeah, I actually liked it on the website where you said you call this system foolproof and dares you to prove him wrong. And I was like, that's something right there that I'm like, I'm signing up for that.
Well, I mean, what I'm interested in as a teacher, I'm interested in self-expression. And so I have so much less consideration and interest in somebody who is designing a foolproof performance in the way that tends to get thought of. What I care about is that a person is showing up fully and expressing themselves fully. I believe in doing that. They will guarantee them their performance is going to be, relevant and relatable. So that's what I tend to. I figure, get the person to show up, and the quality of their work will take care of the rest. And I tend to have never been proved wrong.
Well, there you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
That puts it out, and that actually leads into my first question, because it deals with how good of an actor you are. So one of the great things you do in this movie is perfectly landing someone who is 100% confident, but still slightly socially awkward, as where they can't really tell what the people around them are feeling. Like, you make jokes like it's nothing about stuff that makes other uncomfortable. It's like a comparison, like, so there's a scene where you've already picked out the girl, and you're telling them, and it's like you and they already cooked bacon on a cooking show. Like that's great writing, but just the way you sell it was just perfect. And it's these small things, like when Eugene is talking and cutting up vegetables. And you can tell, like, Taylor's acting, it's scaring her, but, like, just your tiny smirk in the back.
Right.
Like, you're so into it. Like, it's always small things like that make me really appreciate a role. Really make me appreciate how much someone is doing to sell that role. So, are you, like, when you're teaching acting or when you go into, do you tell them, hey, make sure you do these small things that your character would do in the background that no one may never notice, but that one person who knows will love it?
I don't know. I would say, do work that is as fully alive as you can do, and cross your fingers and hope that you'll come across a project that frames your performance in a way that allows for the subtlety and depth of the work that you're doing to show up. And Behind the Mask was one of those really all too rare occasions where you can do work that is really nuanced and have that show up. Usually it's very broad strokes, and you don't get the opportunity to see that kind of life in the background. So Behind the Mask was also a really rare opportunity to do the kind of work that I enjoy doing. And I think that helped because I'm playing a character who loves what he's doing. So, it works out that way pretty consistently.
Yeah, it is fantastic. Like, some of the chemistry between Angela, who plays Taylor, and you is fantastic. specifically the scene where after she leaves the diner and y'all have the intense scene of you confronting her about her confronting the aka final girl.
Right.
How intense was that? Like, was that did it take a lot of takes, or did y'all just have the chemistry down right that in 1-2 takes you had it knocked out?
Yeah, no, it's I guess how a lot of the scenes play out tends to be, Leslie's doing a lot of talking, he's doing a lot of explaining, and that was kind of one of them. As long as I wasn't screwing up lines too bad, we could generally move forward and knock stuff out pretty quick, and that's what we generally tried to do and generally succeeded in doing, especially with the documentary style shooting. We were able to get in, get it done and get out real quick. And that was one of those instances up against the van. And yeah, we were just able to move really great. Angela she's awesome. And, it was really easy to develop a real relationship with her. And so, yeah, when we were doing that scene, that was also one of the scenes that we auditioned with. We auditioned together with that scene.
Wow.
And it was really intense in the room then, I can remember. So I already knew that it was going to be, we were going to be able to take it to some really screwed up places. And we were able to frame it in a way that was interesting.
That's awesome.
That also, by the way, was Robert Englund had just come to set, and he was checking out what he'd gotten himself into. And he'd shot his stuff, but he decided to stick around. He watched Angela and I work out this scene, and he pulled me aside at one point, and he's like, "What you're doing, man? It's really good, right on track, and you remind me of young Anthony Perkins."
Oh, snap.
Wow, that must have made you feel so good.
Just got the greatest endorsement right now.
That's amazing.
I cannot do wrong. I just got, the man's endorsement. I can move on.
Yeah, because Anthony Perkins is an amazing actor. We're a big fan of him here. We did a review of Psycho 3, the one that he actually got to direct, not only star in. And just,
oh gosh, I saw that so long ago. I got to watch that again.
Oh man, it is it is way deeper than most
good.
people really think. Kenneth and I went so deep on that, and Jay actually for the first time just watched all the Psycho movies.
Wow.
Yeah. For Halloween, we watch a different horror movie every day in October.
How many were there?
There's only 4.
There's 4, and then there is
a TV movie and a TV series.
Yes,
right.
But really, you only need to
4.
watch the first 3.
The 4th isn't that bad.
It is terrible. Be quiet.
The series was decent.
What?
Is Anthony Perkins in that?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's in it.
Kind of.
It's a flashback kind of movie. He's calling a radio station, and he's like not killed anybody for such a long time, and he's like, man, I really feel like killing somebody again. And he's talking to this talk show, and he's talking about his life as a kid, and it kind of shows him growing up with his mom and stuff like that.
Oh, that's weird.
But you know what?
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah,
it's not terrible.
It is
God,
terrible.
guys.
It's so awkward. It's awkward between him and his mom, and I'm from Alabama, and I'm still saying that. So let's just okay. All right, I got another question that also involves acting. If you haven't tell, I'm really into how people act things.
I have a question that involves acting.
Bam! We got 2 more questions that involve acting. All
I
right.
got tons. I'll throw in some.
So, the killing of Todd shows how dedicated Leslie is to this. It's a powerful moment downplayed by very subtle acting. To me, it actually seems that the acting even changes when the dock cameras turn off and it becomes more of a standard movie. Now, during the final act, when it becomes a slasher, did you change the way you were acting, or is it just him becoming Leslie Vernon? And since he no longer has to be talking with the documentary team and it's just him, did it change your acting? Like, to me, in my head, the acting for everybody completely changes when it becomes no longer a documentary, but a quote-unquote slasher movie.
Right. Yeah, well, he makes it very clear throughout the documentary part of the movie that he takes his work very seriously, and he is not just committed to the philosophy that in order for good to exist, there has to be evil. He is convinced, or he's lying very persuasively, that he believes he needs to become an embodiment of evil, absolute pure evil. And I felt like that was pretty scary. That was a scary idea when juxtaposed to the fact that we've just spent the last 45 minutes getting to know this guy and almost liking him. It felt to me like that was a terrifying, a more terrifying choice, rather than just acting like a bad guy, acting evil, like a mustache twisting villain. It was far more terrifying to see somebody that we thought we knew be absolutely mindlessly horrific. And I went that way, and most of the time it doesn't show up. That's the only time that you see him without the mask on, is that scene with Todd that you were talking about. So that's a really interesting scene, because it's the only time that you see that there's a conflict, or that there's somebody underneath the mask other than just a machine.
Yeah. Oh man, when he takes off your mask, it's so subtle, but just the way you're looking at him, and him being like, "Hey, weren't we kind of friends?" And then you kill him anyway, and it's just like, okay, guys, he really is dead set on this. No matter how much you liked him, he is dead set on accomplishing his goals. And to me, that's the scene where it really, really hits.
And it's interesting.
It's the only time that you know that it's me as the boy, as Leslie Vernon. The rest of the time I have a mask on, and I could, it could have just been a stunt double the rest of that time. But that's the one scene where, and I guess the very final scene, where you can see that there's somebody under the mask,
Very much so.
And like I was saying, it's one of those things where I'm one of those people that when I watch a movie, I do my best to try to put myself in the position of some of the characters. And and I was thinking to myself, to be the guy that was looking up at Leslie Vernon and taking his mask off and trying to grasp a hold of that somewhat pseudo relationship that they had, and then it not being there, and then you're basically, those are the last moments of your life, and you're looking at somebody that you thought was your friend and is not. That, right, on top of the fact of seeing this, this person that is basically hell bent on, to the point of where you're looking into these cold, black, soulless eyes that is focused on one thing. That in itself, I mean, to me, that was the most terrifying moment in the entire movie. Is that right there? Because that, you go, like you were saying, you go from this likable dude who's got, kind of a comedic aspect to him, and he's slightly awkward and so on, to this just absolute, I mean, just brutal killer. That was a fantastic pinnacle for me. That was actually my favorite scene in the entire movie.
Well, and what's neat about it for me is that it's not as cut and dry as he's just a machine on a mission. There is a moment where where it seems like Todd might be able to talk his way out of it, where Leslie seems to hesitate, and that was an opportunity to demonstrate that there's something human still here underneath all that. So, and then I feel like that's really incredibly terrifying, is to see somebody wavering maybe a little bit, and you might be able to make it out of this alive, and then you see that cloud go back over the eyes, and you see that he's all the more committed to what he's going to do.
Right, it's amazing. It's just amazing.
Yeah, like, and Leslie being so committed to this, how much of that is your own personality? How much of in Leslie do you have your own personality of being committed to an acting role, to a character, really getting into it?
Oh, the whole thing, the whole thing was me.
Besides the killing of people, everything was him.
Well, no, really. I mean, I that was tricky, trying to figure out how to get behind that agenda, you know. But once I realized that that Leslie really did believe, it was almost stoic in philosophy, where he justifies murder, he justifies death and killing, and mayhem. He justifies it all philosophically. He's 100% unapologetically about what he's doing. And once I really had that discovery about him, I felt like, oh, this is great. I don't have to apologize for anything. He doesn't apologize for anything that he believes. If you don't believe what he believes, he understands why. Not anybody is going to be able to get behind that kind of agenda, but he doesn't ask you to believe. He just asks you to follow along. You know, the rest of it is just, he's a guy who feels like he's on the verge of something amazing, and I felt very much at the time that I was on the verge of something amazing career-wise. You know, we chose different professions, Leslie and I, but you know, we were both at that same place in our lives, and you know, I felt like I was about to springboard off into you know, an amazing Hollywood career. And he felt like he was about to springboard off into the pantheon of slashers, and you know, and so that we were on the same track there. It was easy to portray that.
Nice, and that's something I want to hit on later is what can come from this. But Jay, you said you had an acting question. I want to hear.
Yeah, it's not as in depth as your questions, but I was just curious. How did you prepare for the role as what could be a new slasher villain? Did you watch a bunch of slasher movies? Is there a favorite slasher you have that you just try to channel? Anything like that?
This is also like the number one question I got when I asked people, because I have fan questions. The number one question is, how did you get into being a slasher? What movies did you watch? Who's your favorite slasher? So this will be a good opportunity, because I'm sure this has been asked to you a lot. So here's another good opportunity to let everyone know.
How I prepared for the role, do you mean?
How you prepared for the role? Did you watch any slasher movies to get into it?
I felt a lot of responsibility for pulling it off, you know. So I'd intended to watch all of them, at least the ones that I reference directly in the script. You know, I felt an onus to do all this. What I got around to watching was Friday the 13th, the first one. I'd already seen prior. I'd seen Nightmare on Elm Streets 1 through 3, but that was, gosh, a long time ago. And so yeah, I wasn't very well versed, but fortunately for me, it's in the script, you know, everything that he does, everything that he, you know, says and believes, it's all there in the script. The writing did all the work for me. I realized I don't have to know every single thing about, you know, the slasher genre. These guys have done their homework, and if I, you know, can get behind the lines and say them correctly, then you know, they've done the work. So I just trust them. And you know, and when it came to actually doing the more cinematic elements of it, you know, where you see the Leslie with the mask on and he's doing his business, I heavily relied on the director and the writer for their expertise, because there were physicalizations that I wasn't familiar with, and I remember on the first day of shooting, I was doing all kinds of stuff. I don't know what I was doing, and the director came up and he was like, you don't have to do anything, just stand there, just stand there. I'm like, okay, I'll just stand there. Feels like I'm not doing anything. He's like, yeah, it's all right, it's good. I think it might have gone a completely different direction if I hadn't had his coaching there and his expertise with slashers.
Gotcha. So you didn't have and I've heard other actors talk about this before also, where they talk about sometimes you do not have to make a character because they've made the character for you. There's no you creating their childhood. It's all there on the paper. And if you can nail what they've presented to you, you're going to have a great character.
And he definitely nailed it, man.
Yeah, and it sounds like this was the case. And for the writer, you've worked with him again on a short that I'm waiting to be released.
Yeah,
I don't know if you have any information on that. I'd love to know it.
I don't. I've got to nail him down on that. I know that they went back and shot. There was some scenes that they had to do to pick up, so they had to get the band back together. They shot that stuff, and I'm assuming it's at some point in the edit right now. But I need to find out from him when he's planning on completing that and screening it. But yeah, Stevie was. I mean, the script was brilliant, and it read clean, and it read really interestingly, and just screamed. So much of the work is done for you. All you got to do is not screw it up. To basically everybody that was involved with it. I think we all had the same feeling about it. As long as we didn't get in its way, the script was going to take care of itself. Was going to take care of the movie. And I think a lot can be said in that having been accomplished. The script was just really, really tight and really well executed, and all we had to do was show up and have a good shoot and execute cleanly on a script that was already really just well constructed.
Gotcha. There was not a lot of need to improv here. It was all set very well.
Yeah. It was all set up very well, and there was room, definitely wiggle room, and I was grateful for that, because I tend to, I like to play. It's a fun part of the process for me if you have an opportunity to just kind of play around and try different things and see what works. And we were given a lot of leash to run around on, and I'm grateful for that, because a lot of the rest of my career, I haven't had that kind of that kind of freedom been given.
Gotcha. I'd love to honestly, I love when an actor gets to go, yeah, that role I got wiggle room. I got to play around with it and bring something of themselves into it instead of just going straight off with the script, which I don't have a problem with that, but it's nice to hear that from an actor, just because that's something that they themselves want to do.
Yeah, it tends to be pretty process oriented, and you gotta, pretty tight window, and so you've got to execute, and you got to do a certain number of takes, that kind of thing, to make sure your bases are covered. Well, we moved quick. We were able to move really quick, especially with the mockumentary part of it. We were able to knock out really, really complicated scenes. All that stuff in front of the schoolhouse in the van is so exquisitely choreographed. We're doing it real time. We're basically talking our way through it real time. There's some edits in there, but it plays out. There are long sequences in there that play out, and you're watching kids exiting the school, and we're watching different groups. We're kind of pointing out different groups, and there's girls doing jump rope, and then the survivor girl, she stops and she senses that she's being looked at, observed, and then she moves on. That whole thing is a 5 or 3.5 minute maybe sequence that plays out nearly real time, and we were able to set that up and knock it out in probably an hour and a half.
Wow.
We probably did 3 takes of recording the entire thing all the way through. And then we did some exterior stuff that didn't show up because it was too dark by the time but that whole thing took place during sunset. So we had no choice. We had to get it done. And we were able to move that fast, just get it in. We could set up the choreographed the thing, and then we executed cleanly. And we were able to move like that pretty consistently, which that's rare that you get a group that can collaborate that well.
Yeah, because even
really
like
impressive.
Listening to Adam Green talk about his movies, which are also in the low to middle budget movies, he talks about how hard it is if you miss that shot, if you have to do it too many times and you lose your day on an independent movie, it puts you back a lot, and it's just not good. So to hear how cleanly y'all were able to get some of those shots, especially one like that was so intricate, is fantastic.
Well, we oftentimes we didn't. We had to improvise with what we were given. A really great example of that is the post hole digger scene. That gag was supposed to be a close up chest penetration, pulling out this still beating heart. It was going to be a really complicated gag, and it wasn't ready to go. That chest cavity thing was still under construction. We had an overworked and understaffed effects crew, and so we got to shoot the thing. We can't afford to lose a night of shooting. We have to shoot something. If the gag's not ready, what the fuck do we do? And so we improvised, and we shot it from way far away, a super wide shot, where I'm burying the post hole on the other side of the victim, so it looks like it's penetrating him, but we're so far away you can't really tell. And then we do a close-up of I think they got a cow heart or a pig heart or something like that, squirted it down with fake blood in his hand, and he's just, it ended up being like a cheesy workaround that ended up, in my opinion, working really well for us, because the genre of slasher that we're really celebrating specifically is, the late 70s, early 80s, and that's how they rolled. They did not have a budget; they had to execute, and and they didn't have complicated gags. It wasn't even a something that was an option. So it just never came up. It was like you just got to execute and move on. And so there's a lot of elements of a gag gone bad or some kind of cheesy workaround, but that, in my opinion, I'm glad that we didn't deliver on the gore to the extent that it had originally been conceived and intended.
I actually really like that, because ever since I was a young lad, horror fan, putting up fence posts on the property, I've always thought to myself, I was just like, man, it would be awesome to see somebody just get totaled with a pair of post hole diggers.
Yeah,
it was awesome. Great.
You got your dear wish.
Yeah, man, it was awesome.
All right, so I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna throw a couple of questions from fans, so you can spend however long you want on them, or you can go really quickly. So our first one's from Andrew. Andrew, I'm gonna screw up your last name, but I love you. Hokestra. Nathan, how would you approach the character in a sequel format? And how was the pace he had to wear on his face in the original? So 2 questions. First, what the pace you had on your face? Did you enjoy that?
The scene or the actual application of the?
I'm assuming he means like the application having to wear it.
The goop.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that was interesting. That was a fun scene to shoot, and it was an interesting goop, and actually became made something of a moment that was interesting that they ended up using. Just kind of peeling the stuff off, the kind of effect that it would have when it started drying. You know, it almost kind of made I don't know, some kind of globular thing, and it just
coagulated.
Yeah. So that was neat. But yeah, the rest of the stuff, the eye stuff and the mouth stuff, that was weird. I guess I tried to be as in character as possible whenever I had a scene with the mask on, and so the scenes where I was Leslie but didn't have the mask on, you know, just had the makeup on and whatnot, those were always a little bit of a relief because you know, the mask stuff was pretty intense.
Gotcha. So now with this movie, everyone wants a sequel. Obviously, there was some crowdfunding that did happen, but it did not meet its mark. Now, I'm hoping that one day y'all go back to that crowdfunding and let a lot of us, because I feel like crowdfunding is more acceptable now, and and like I feel like if we tried it again, especially with podcasts pushing behind you, that it may work. And I'm hoping that one day happens. And I know y'all have had talks about it, so don't give away anything you can't give away. But how would you approach the character in a sequel format?
Well, you know, my tendency of thought is that, well, there's already a script.
Yes.
David Stevie already wrote the script. It's already a great script. In fact, we're selling comic book series right now that's based on the sequel script.
Now, is the comic book out or is it still pre-order?
The first 3 issues I think are out, and then it's pre-order for the back 4. 3. But
okay.
Yeah. So that's a really interesting iteration of the sequel. But obviously, if we you know, ever manage to get a sequel off the ground, which is a possibility, it's such a huge money.
I will run a commercial on every single podcast advertising someone to go to the Kickstarter or Indiegogo.
It's going to take that. It's going to take a lot of...
Let me know, because I will have as many podcasts that's on the Horrorphilia network running that. I know there's some that will already just go ahead and do it, right? I know Horror Corridor would do it. I know 22 Shots would do it. I know so many podcasts on the network that would do it and that would do whatever we can to help spread the word. So you just hit me up and we will give you as much free promotion as we can. And I know I'll throw money. I threw $300 into the Mystery Science Theater 3000 return Kickstarter. So I'll sell some shit to throw into
all right.
a Behind the Mask sequel.
I'll back it too. We'll back it.
We'll back it.
Right. You guys can go too. I just anytime we get that ball rolling, I'll reach out to you.
I'll start the Kickstarter right now. Actually, I'll get the movie funded.
Maybe wait to see what Scott says about all of that first. I don't know.
The thing is, I have a lot of sympathy for Scott Glosserman, the director, executive producer, because so much of the responsibility for the fundraising and is going to be on his end, and he already is so responsible for the films just happening. He was a total zombie by the end of our shoot Behind the Mask, because he put absolutely everything he had into it, and it was basically you know, the dude who runs to Marathon to deliver the news and then collapses at the you know, Emperor's feet or whatever. You know, that's basically how he ran himself into the ground to make Behind the Mask happen. I think that has got to be a kind of a scarring event, or at the very least, it's got to. He knows that there's going to be some absolute cost that's going to require absolute dedication in making a sequel happen. Because so much of it is on his shoulders, or at least that's how it went the first time, and he's going to have to, get a team together. Well, the more of a team you have, the more cost goes up, and the more of a budget you got to, so I think he knows, he's very aware of how much of his life would be consumed for the next year once that ball gets rolling. And so I think he's approaching it very cautiously, and I think he should, because it's going to take over his life.
It will. Because even after raising budget, filming everything, just going into post-production, he's going to be in post-production for another year. Mm-hmm. And then it's going to be another year of promoting the film and getting people to see the film and all of that. So it's definitely something y'all do out of a labor of love. But
and he's already got another job. He's the executive of Gather Films.
Yes, I was going to bring that up and see
that's his active baby. I mean, he's already tied up. So it's to step away from his life. I do not envy the kind of wherewithal it's going to have to require in order to get the ball rolling. You know?
And for those who don't know what Gather is, it's the website's still GATHR. There's no E there. R.US, I believe. Mm-hmm. This concept is amazing to me. Basically, if you want a movie filmed in your city, then you can not only get the people in your community involved, but you can get them all to show this movie in a local theater. It's fantastic. In fact, for me, it would be really easy because we have a place here called Full Moon Cinema, and not only do they do our horror convention every October here, but they have a tattoo shop and a movie theater, and that's where I saw the Hatchet 4, Victor Crowley was there. So, I can get, if I was I want to move in here, I can go to Ben and be like, Ben, I'm going to do this Gatherer thing, and we're going to get as many people as we can to do this and bring the film here. And just the concept in general is great. If there is a independent film that you've been following that you want to see, say maybe it's even a short film that's called Wait For It that you really want to see when it comes out, you can put it on Gather and actually basically crowdfund your own. It's like a petition almost. You're going to crowdfund it to get the movie shown where you're at.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and they'll even obtain old prints of a film that has already run theatrically, and if you want to see Jaws, I want to have a screening of Jaws.
Oh yes.
You got to get enough people together. They basically pre-order their ticket, and they'll set it up for you. It's pretty sweet service.
Yeah, I am a big fan of it. So if he ever decides to come back to make another movie in the Leslie Vernon mythos, Scott, if you're listening, which I know you're not, we're here for you, and we will definitely do whatever we can to help you through that process and help you get the movie made and get all horror fans to put their money where their mouth is. Because in this day and age, horror fans, if you do not put your money where your mouth is, you will not get horror. If you pirate it, you're not getting more horror movies. End of story. You have to pay for this genre to keep going.
I'll go around to all these studios that are around me because I live just below Atlanta. So I'll go around to all these studios that are circling around me and bang on the doors and get arrested and stuff like that, just so I can find somebody that'll help make this movie. Because I'm like, I would really love to see a sequel. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, so, I am pretty confident it's going to happen at some point. I'm not really all that anxious to do one. Because I feel like there's a lot of goodwill that's been built up, and I feel like I'm not in any kind of rush to do something that might through having been, I don't know, it just didn't have enough, it didn't cook long enough, or the concept was, or updating the sequel script, that, because I know Stevie wants to have a redo, revise the script, update it, and that's a whole lot of investment. I just know that there's a lot of stuff that has to go into making it something that we're all going to feel really excited about, like we did the first time. I mean, the script as it is right now is great, but Stevie wants to update it, and I think he should, because I think that the closer we keep this thing to our current experience of culture and where our culture's at right now in terms of horror, the more current I think we can keep it, the better. And I think that there's a lot to say about where horror is right now. And I think that there's a lot to say about where our culture is right now. And I think it's interesting to, harness the fact that, and Stevie and I have talked about this too, but I think both of us were in a position where we felt like Behind the Mask was going to be our calling card. And it was that in a lot of ways, but I know that we imagined that was going to be a springboard to a brilliant career, and that did not happen. And I think it's interesting the degree to which we harness how that works, because I think a lot of people have had that experience and probably can relate to that experience. Is when you step out there and you just think you're 2 steps over from king shit, and you take a step out, put yourself out there, and you just fall on your ass. How do you respond to that? How do you pull yourself back up and go back at it? If you do go back at it, what kind of moves do you make? What kind of things do you do to ensure that you're going to be more relevant? You're going to be better received this time around. I think those are really interesting, questions to continue to explore, because I think a lot of people are having that experience right now.
Yeah, and I honestly feel like horror fans kind of let y'all down a bit, especially now with a lot of us looking back at it being 10 years ago, and Scream Factory's putting out a wonderful Blu-ray of it with artwork done by my boy Joel Robinson, knocking out some more amazing Scream Factory artwork. I love you, Joel. And I'm so excited for this release, and I've got it pre-ordered. I'm ready for it to come in.
Yeah, mine's pre-ordered too.
It looks pretty sweet, and it's gonna. I looked at the additional features, and it's gonna have, I think, all the additional features that were on the previous release, and a few extras. So that'll be cool.
Yeah. Did you get to go in and do anything like interviews or anything for the Scream Factory release?
No, I had my life.
Fair enough.
Went nuts, and I wasn't available for when they were shooting that stuff. So, but it's good. I was glad to that the other folks who don't usually get a whole lot of attention in the process of the film, or the kind of acknowledgement that the film gets. They got a lot of the focus, and I think they're going to have some extras that'll feature them, and I'm glad about that for them.
I'm stoked. And like I was saying, I do feel like horror fans kind of let y'all down the first time. I remember Adam Green talking about this thing where a fan was talking about how upset they are at all the remakes, and he said, well, Behind the Mask is playing down the street. Did you go see that? No, you went and saw a remake. They're making more remakes because you're giving them your money. Go see Behind the Mask.
Right.
And you hear that and you go, damn, he's right. And I feel like in general as horror fans let you down. But hopefully if y'all come back for a second round, we will show you how much of a legendary status that you have brought with just one movie into the horror
I really
realm.
hope the Scream Factory release puts the movie in front of more people, because everyone should see this. Anybody who's a fan of slasher movies at all, and horror in general, needs to see this movie.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, the legend has been growing, as somebody who has been, observing it from the very beginning. We came out of the gate and didn't make the kind of splash that we were expecting, but, time has only worked in our favor, because with each week that goes by, more and more people see it, and more people become aware of it, and it's the slow burn rather than the firecracker that we were expecting. But I'll take a slow burn.
Fair enough. All right, I'm going to throw a couple of more questions your way from the fans who want to know, and I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this one or not, but JP from 22 Shots of Moods and Horror podcast wants to know, Adam Green said when he put Leslie Vernon into his mythos for Hatchet 2. And supposedly, Scott, the director for Behind the Mask, put in a reference to Victor Crowley in the sequel. You've read the script, and if you're not allowed to say it, just say you can't say it, but can you confirm or deny this?
I can confirm I've read the script, but I can't confirm that part of it. I can't confirm that I've read the script in a long time, though, so I would have to go back and reread that. I'm sure that he did, though, because I think we're all really impressed and pleased that Adam Green was as complimentary about Behind the Mask as he was. We were all really grateful for his support.
Gotcha. I knew that was a loaded question, so I had to give you your out first, just in case. So, in the film, you established the importance of cardio to create the illusion that you are only ever walking to catch your victims. Well, Aaron West wants to know, how much cardio did you yourself do in preparation for the role?
Oh boy, not that much. I like to run, and so I was doing that, but at the time, I wanted to look decent. I didn't want to show up embarrassingly, so I took care of myself, but not. Let me just say, we shot, and it shows up in the extra features. We shot a run walk scene. I talk about, reference it, where you got to make it look like you're walking and everybody else is running their asses off, and I got to stay with them, that thing. Well, we shot a scene where I'm demonstrating how that works out, and I'm chasing Angela. She's running at top speed, and I'm after her until just a split second before she turns back to look over her shoulder and sees me walking just behind her. But as soon as she turns back around and looks ahead, then I'm back off running, and the idea is that I'm catching up with her, but she is fast. Yeah. She is so fast. And I pulled a hammy both when I tried to catch up with her. We shot the scene twice, and both times I pulled a hammy trying to catch up with her, because she was in such good shape.
Well, I have learned I cannot be a slasher. It is not going to happen for me.
That's the reason why Jason always looks like he's breathing so fucking hard.
It takes a lot of work, baby.
All right, so another very, very popular character in this movie is Eugene. Now, so apparently there's a thing on the internet, and apparently the writer has confirmed this, or at least in his mind, that Billy from Black Christmas is Eugene. That's his backstory.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Yeah, and I actually looked it up because I was like, there's no way. And then, no, he literally said, yeah, in his head, it's Billy from the backstory. Now, I'm assuming while filming this, you didn't have any insight, but how did you feel about your slasher mentor And in your eyes, before you had heard that, what did you think Eugene's backstory was?
I don't know. Like I said, I didn't have the kind of background in horror or specifically slasher that these guys did in what they were referencing, and so I just, it wasn't a conversation that I was, ever able to engage in, but I trusted that they'd done their homework, and if I could just take care of the relationship, then their words would represent, Leslie faithfully. It's my job. As I understood it, was just to totally adore Eugene, and I did. Fortunately, Scott Wilson is, just, one of the sweetest people you would ever meet, and I had an opportunity to work really personally with him, and that was just, it was, like with Angela, it was really easy to fall in love with him, and fortunately, they did all the work, because I was just kind of able to sit there and just kind of, bat my eyes at them and, just adore them.
It's crazy too. It's crazy too, because when you meet Scott Wilson, I met him down here at a Apple store, because when he was filming The Walking Dead, and you're totally right, man. He's just got that aura about him. Like, you could just sit down and talk to him for hours.
Oh, yeah.
The grandpa vibe.
Yeah, right, dude. He's got that completely. And I'm, so when I talked to him, and I was all starstruck and shit, because I'm sitting there and I just walk up on this dude in the store, but I didn't want to be, one of those people that just comes up and like, oh my God, I didn't want to do that. And so I was trying to be real chill and whatnot. And he's like, hey man, you want to sit out here and talk? You want to take a picture? All this other kind of stuff. And I'm like, awesome. It was great. He was just so cool, and I wasn't expecting that. So it was nice.
I had the same experience too, and I got to work with him, after being, just thinking like, I don't know what to expect from this guy. He has every right to just not really invest that much, just cash a paycheck, and that's just not Scott's way.
Right.
He showed up to play ball, and he showed up with a really open heart, and he welcomed me into it, and made for some really tender moments, that was really sweet to see, and I feel like really highlighted those transitions, those juxtapositions where we're seeing people talk about doing really evil things, but we're seeing them, behave tenderly and lovingly, and in a way that we would respond to and want to have show up in our relationship. That was just a really interesting. The more we could heighten that juxtaposition, I felt like the more interesting it would be, and Scott was able to pull that off really beautifully.
It was real cool to see the kind of father figure with Leslie kind of dynamic. It was really, really cool.
I like that.
Yeah, that was another thing that I really enjoyed, because you find out later on in the film that Leslie, his backstory is not what he gave in the beginning, or it could be, or it may not be. You don't really know. So it's like to see him kind of latch on to this father type figure, that, like you said, doing these really, really horrible things. It was definitely interesting. I liked how they put that together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you've said before you were not like a huge fan of the genre. You do like the genre. You have watched it. What are some of your favorite horror films of the genre, though? Like, what horror fans want? I have a lot of horror fans that always ask anytime I do like an interview or something. They want to know, what horror movies do they like? So I want to know, what are just a couple of your favorite horror movies?
Well, I just watched The Exorcist with my 14-year-old, and that is one it always gets me. But this was his first time watching it, and man, it still gets me. That one, oh my goodness! Exorcism movies in general really, really freak me out. You know, they go right to that right to that spot for me. My upbringing in the church and whatever. It just pushes all my buttons.
You know what's funny? So during this whole conversation, our last episode was our top 10 favorite horror films of all time.
Mm-hmm.
You have mentioned every single one of our top 3s.
Oh yeah.
Because Kenneth is The Exorcist.
My favorite horror movie of all time for the reasons that you just stated.
Wow.
Mine was Jaws because I first watched it when I was like 4 with my grandfather, and I've always loved it. And Jay's is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, which earlier you said you had seen 1 through 3.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
wow.
awesome.
I just thought that was a funny coincidence.
Meant to be, gentlemen. Well, let's see if I can mention some more.
Matango. Just kidding. No one's seen that.
Yeah, I love Exorcist, Jaws. Gosh, I love that movie. I love how Spielberg plays with those chaotic family and chaotic city council sequences, you know, and dockyard sequences. They're so wonderfully chaotic. Close Encounters isn't really a horror movie, but it plays in a lot of those same ways too. So I love it for the same reasons. Silence of the Lambs is not straight up, you know, horror, but it pushes a lot of those same buttons.
I consider, if it's a thriller, I consider it in the subgenre of horror if it plays with enough horror elements.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I think Silence of the Lambs does.
I agree.
Yeah. I'm glad that we've all admitted it into the horror pantheon. Gosh, I'm blanking on movies right now, but I'm looking forward to watching more horror, and my boys are definitely interested in watching horror, and so I'm getting to watch a lot of movies for the first time with them, which is really cool and really weird too. We just watched Mist for the first time, and
oh my god,
that's one of my favorites.
Such a great film.
Oh my goodness,
that ending.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man.
Oh. Well,
now, how old are your 2 boys?
See, I'm admitting something terrible from, you know, saying that my 11-year-old and 14-year-old watched The Mist, and that ending.
No,
I mean,
that ending, man.
We were all very disturbed by it, and I shouldn't have let my 11-year-old watch that.
Well, I don't know, because I feel like when it comes down to that, because Kenneth has asked this before, because he's got a daughter, and when we talk about at what age is it appropriate to let kids watch certain horror movies, and to me, as long as you're there to explain it, and you start off small and ease them into it, and explain as you go. But like, yeah, it's ones like The Mist, where not only do you have like a religious fanatic going at it, but then you have that ending, which I'm not going to spoil for anyone who has not seen it, which if you haven't seen it, go do it and watch the black and white version, because it's fantastic. Like, what are your decision makings on what movie? Like, you just said you watched The Exorcist. Now, I'm assuming you only watched that with your 14-year-old?
Yeah.
So, if
I don't know, you know, I had friends who grew up, they watched, you know, all kinds of, you know, R-rated movies with their parents, and you know, they all, you know, turned out like normal people. But I understand that there's a point at which, you know, there's appropriateness and stuff like that. I tend to not really have a decent sense of where that is, because unless I'm showing a movie to them that I've seen before, I don't. How do you get enough information on a movie? You know, there's some resources that you can go to.
Yeah,
but,
there's on IMDb they've got that parental advisory thing where it'll break down everything.
Yeah.
And you can use that, but to me, if you can explain it, then and they understand it, it's good. Now, have they seen Behind the Mask?
No, they haven't. We meant to do it last year. There was a big screening, and we were gonna go to it, but stuff came up and didn't work out. So, yeah, I will show it to them at some point. I just don't know when. This year, I mean, my 14-year-old, he's been ready for a long time, I feel like, but the 11-year-old, we're still trying to find windows where he's going to be, at a friend's house or something like that, so that the 14-year-old and I can, watch another thing that he wouldn't be able to watch where his younger brother there.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be all right. I watched the original Evil Dead when I was in 5th grade, and that has tree rape. So,
no.
I'm finding it difficult. Okay. I'm finding it difficult myself because a lot of times when I think about things to let my daughter watch, I have to think about her personality as well. I mean, she's 6, so obviously I got to keep it really light. Yeah. But I watched Night of the Living Dead when I was 4. When I was around 7 or 8 years old, I was watching Friday the 13th on it was edited on TV, but I was still watching Friday the 13th with my mom, and I'd seen Jaws already and stuff like that when I was really young. So I think it's got a lot to do with the personality. Like, my daughter does not have a personality at this current moment to be able to handle certain things. So the only thing that she's watched with me is the old black and white Universal films. Like, she's watched The Wolfman with me, and she watched The Fly with Vincent Price in it. It's not black and white, but she watched that with me. So some of the older ones, because I honestly don't think that my daughter's ready whatsoever at this current moment to get anything any more intense than that. And we watched the Fast and the Furious today, but there's really not anything in that except for cussing, and the cussing ain't nothing that she hadn't heard from me before.
You never had your car.
You're right.
It's been a great way in for my boys and I, though, because there's a lot of classic horror that I haven't seen, and so I'm watching a lot of stuff that I've never seen before. They're watching an entire genre that they've never seen before. I mean, Svengoolie has been an education for all of us. We've been able to see classic horror in a format that they can appreciate, and it feels like we're doing something that's special, a kind of family event. Every Saturday night we're sitting down and we're watching horror.
I think that's the coolest thing.
Really cheesy, kind of 50s atomic horror, or it might be something more classic, but regardless, you're going to see something, and it's presented in a way that's really fun.
Yeah, I love that, because I'm a huge fan of classic horror. I actually watch way more like pre-80s stuff than post-80s stuff, which is a problem of mine. And so I love that, and I love that your kids are getting an education on horror through that, because there's a lot that don't see anything before the 80s, Jay. And
hey, at least I'm trying to branch out. I can't help what I like.
Yeah, and me and Jerry are having to facilitate his branching out before the 80s, because that seems to be the decade that he's stuck in, and we're like, no. So I know that you probably haven't listened to any of our others, but me and Jerry actually pulled together and bought him a Universal Monster Blu-ray box set, so that way he cannot get away from
it. That's awesome.
Yeah, so
those movies are so good.
Oh, they are. So before we get out of here, do you have anything that you want to tell the fans, that you want to just promote for yourself? What's going on in your world? What do you want the people to know?
Well, we do have that comic book series that's going on right now. I don't know the name of the site.
Keep talking, I'll find it.
For that, yeah. If you guys can post something on that, that'd be great. Yeah,
I was just there.
Yeah, we've got that comic book that's out and still being developed. The work on it is really neat, and it's great to just keep keep furthering the story, even if we can't get something as monumental as a whole film, an entire film off the ground. At least we can, branch out in other genres that are friendly to our genre. So yeah, there's that. Definitely, if you have info on Stevie's short, wait for it. That's something to keep your eye out for. It'll be really cool, and it was just a neat project for him to be working on because it was engaging him in totality, not just as a writer, but in all of those other creative aspects that writers often don't have access to or avail themselves of, those resources. So I'm doing my acting class, and they should definitely go to the website deviatestudios.com and check that out. It's LA based. We just moved to downtown LA, and we've got a great space there, and we're doing really fantastic stuff. I'm thrilled about the opportunities that we're looking at moving forward, and yeah, so check that out.
Very cool.
All right, so the website for the comic is vernonsfarmhouse.com. It's not a porno site. I double checked. It's VERNONSFARMHOUSE.com, and it's great because the first thing you see is Paradise Lost. Found it. Nice. Which is hilarious to me. So that is the website where you can actually go and get it, though I did see an update through the Indiegogo that says they're having a slight bug issue with the shop. So if that's still happening, just be patient. You'll be able to get everything through there. Funny enough, you're actually the second person I've interviewed that teaches acting classes, because I interviewed Amanda Bierce, who played Marcy from Married with Children, on my other podcast, the Married with Children podcast. And it just kind of hit me like, oh, I keep interviewing people that do, and it's always them that I find all these like subtle acting things in their performance that I really, really like.
Right.
I think
it's usually people that understand that the process of acting is often not for. It doesn't tend to the actor's benefit. It tends to for commercial purposes, and the actor tends to get lost a little bit in the process, and so a lot of teachers are actors who are really frustrated with a process that is not nearly as creative as it could and should be.
That makes sense. I would back that.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I wish I don't live anywhere near you, so I can't go to your acting class, but I would actually love to just go in and have that experience.
Yeah, I'd like to go check it out myself. But
yeah. If you come through town, definitely come in for an audit. We welcome people to come in and check out what it is that we're doing, because we're excited about it, and like I said, it gets results. So I love passing the word.
The closest I've ever been to LA is I was in San Diego. That was nice.
I was
in LA for E3 a couple of years ago.
San Diego is beautiful.
Oh, sir. Yes, San Diego is gorgeous. I would definitely live there.
Unfortunately, I live in Nashville, so I don't have any of that.
You got cool stuff there too. But by the way, all 4 of these comic books will be on their way to me very, very shortly.
Oh, yes, order them all.
Yeah.
I need to. I just ordered. It's kind of funny because another horror movie that I'm really excited for coming out, The Meg. They have a comic book series coming out also for, I think it's 6 issues, and I've pre-ordered that, so I've got to pre-order this.
That's cool.
And I need to go back and get the Hatchet comic books. Apparently, all horror movies, the new way to promote is to do a comic book, and I love this.
Well, yeah, it's a format that's really friendly to cinema anyway, but especially horror as a genre, comic genre. It just works. You can depict things really fantastically, but in the comic format, an illustration can tell a story so effectively and fantastically that you can execute with very little budget at all, something that's even grander than your kind of cinematic aspirations would ever be able to execute.
It's fantastic. I really hope that all of this will lead into another movie in the franchise, whether it's a prequel, whether it's a sequel, whatever it is. I'd love to see y'all come together and make another piece of art, because I do think that the movie was too far ahead of its time, and I feel like if it would have came out in the past like 2-3 years, it would have been like, because now there's all these independent horror movies that come out that people just love, that some of them, like The Void, had a Kickstarter that worked very well, was very successful. They put out the movie, it came out to great reviews, made tons of people's top 10 list for the year. And I definitely feel like Behind the Mask, had it come out now instead of 10 years ago, without anything being changed in it, would still be on everyone's top 10 list for the year.
I agree.
Yeah, I think so too. And then on top of that, I really like, I'm really enjoying the getting on board with the crowdfunded stuff that's going now, because, I think it's really, really cool that, directors and writers and things like that will allow fans to get directly involved versus the way it used to be, even 15, 20 years ago, where, in the 90s or whatnot, where it seemed like that anything that had to do with Hollywood was like a closed door to people. And now it's becoming to where, just everyday fans can be involved. And I really, really like that aspect of it. Like, I talked to Rob Hall at Days of the Dead down here, and, he's going to crowdfund the third installment of the Lady to Rest series. And I'm totally down with giving money for that, just like I'm going to buy these comics and give money to hopefully help facilitate Leslie Vernon too. So I think it's a great medium. Comic books, whatever it is, crowdfunding, anything, I think it's a great medium.
Yeah, it's an exciting time to see I don't know, to pioneer a new way. And I think people who are finding some really creative ways of resourcing their films, and I know that we're in some kind of transition between a studio system where everything is under the thumb of bean counters and whatnot, but I don't think we're fully in a world yet where independent filmmaking has really integrated crowdfunding and big money backing. I feel like we're somewhere in between the two, and I just think that there's a lot of trailblazing still to be done to figure out how to monetize excitement about a concept.
Yeah.
I think you tend to see that people that have an established idea do better. Behind the Mask has definitely won a lot of love over the years since its theatrical release. It continues to win love, and so I think that we're going to find ourselves at some point down the road where the axis tilts, and we're going to be able to leverage all that goodwill that's been stored up.
And that you have a lot of it. I really do believe that the horror fan base will 100% back whatever endeavor y'all go in for the future. I know half of the questions I got were, when are we getting another? Where's the next one coming? So people out there want it. I think if you go to any horror convention in 2018, whether it's just to go or to be a guest, I think you will see how much love you have out there, because we all want Leslie Vernon to be that next slasher franchise. We want you to be that next icon. You know, until you do something different, then the fan base is going to hate you. But, you know, screw them. And I think it's possible.
Me, I am going to be doing a convention in Sacramento in October. So I will be there. If anybody's in the area, come on out to check us out there. Sinister Creature Con in Sacramento in October. But yeah, otherwise you'll have to wait till, I don't know, the next con that I'm booked at.
Fair enough. I hope one day I'm gonna talk to Ben and be like, Ben of Full Moon, book Nathan, fly him out here. You need to come to Nashville anyway. I don't really have a reason why. You just need to.
Well, I've never been there, so that's as good.
Oh, there you go. We have our reason. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I know I had a blast, and we were all really excited for this, and all my questions were all like super nerdy about acting, and I'm glad that
I loved hearing it though. Like Jerry's our host. I couldn't lead a show to save my life, so I was super excited to hear the answers to the questions, and you've been awesome, man. The whole process, responding to my message, and just coming on the show to help us out. I really, really appreciate it.
I appreciate what you guys are doing and your interest in a subject that I love. So I'm happy to be here.
Yes, and I can't wait to see you in more acting roles because I highly enjoy it. I'm a big fan of people who act in such an in-depth field as you do. It's hard for me to explain what it is, but if I can watch it and just start knowing all these like little tiny subtle things, I get really into it. It helps me get into the movie and make it more real. And like Kenneth said, we like to put ourselves in the movie to see how we would feel in those situations. It helps improve a movie for us. And your acting does that flawlessly for me.
I'm glad. Thank you. Go to Deviate Studios. Our YouTube page is something you should subscribe to. We're going to be putting a lot of content on there. And some of it I'll be involved with myself, acting wise, which I'm glad to have that kind of outlet for myself, because I do enjoy acting as much as I enjoy teaching it. I do enjoy acting still. So we'll be putting stuff up there, and I'm going to stay busy in other ways. but yeah, hopefully we'll keep scratching that itch for you.
Yes, we will have links in the description for everyone to click on and check all of it out. So definitely make sure you do that. Definitely show your support for this if you want more from Leslie Vernon, if you want more from Scott Glasserman, if you want more from anyone from the horror community, you have to put in to get out. So please make sure you're doing that. And like we said, thank you for coming on. We had a blast. It sounded like you had a blast. And I hope you do like a small YouTube thing where you just like update, you vlog on your kids watching horror and what they liked and what they did. I think that'd be interesting from to me already a slasher icon, but maybe a future franchise slasher icon.
That's great thinking. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll
What if you did a commentary?
What's that?
What if you did a commentary where you had your 14-year-old there and you watched his first time watching Behind the Mask?
Oh, that's wild.
Or maybe you'd have to do a second time because because if you're having to explain to him, he missed too much stuff. But I'd love to have you see your son review your movie.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd pay for that. Let's kickstart that.
Oh, my son would probably love to star in that video, and say whatever it is that he would be saying about me. Yeah, that's a good idea. I have to look into that.
Please do.
I'm gonna say David, Stevie, and I were tossing around some fun ideas about how to keep Leslie coming in the off season, so to speak. So yeah, so I'm confident some stuff will be coming through the works.
Yes, and please let us know when that short film comes out, because I really want to check it out. Now, hold up, before we leave, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, can you kind of give it a small description of what it is?
Wait For It is a short film that David Stevie wrote, that he directed and produced, and it's
in the same vein.
Know how much I'm allowed to say. I have a role in it, but it's really mostly about this woman, and we're following her as she is experiencing a lot of those moments that in kind of cinematic terms, it's that moment just before something really bad happens, and we're kind of exploring that moment in different ways, in different styles, in different modes, and there's always that sense that, oh boy, this is when something bad's going to happen, and it's a really fun way of exploring that tension-filled moment, but doing it in a way that's clever. I mean, Stevie he's such a clever thinker. I love his writing because it's such a great demonstration of the way that he thinks creatively, which is super appealing to me, and everything that I love, and I think that a lot of people respond to in what's fun about the Behind the Mask script.
Yeah, I forgot I had the plot summary in my notes from when I was doing my research. So here's the plot summary from IMDb. A loving deconstruction of the slasher genre, seen from the perspective of a survivor girl living in the aftermath of her own encounter with a psycho slasher killer. We follow her as she travels home after a night out with friends, always remaining wary of the inevitable return of her tormentor. And I'm kind of looking over my shoulder just reading that. Like, that sounds so suspenseful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I can watch this. I might literally have an anxiety attack watching it.
I'm down.
If I put myself... And even the tagline, she knows what's coming. Like that, like, oh man, I can't wait for this. I don't know if this is accurate. On IMDb, it said it was a 12-minute short, but I know you just said they did some filming of some extra stuff, so maybe it's even longer than that. But yeah, I'm stoked for this to come out.
I'd say it's about 12 minutes max. The stuff that they had to shoot was just stuff that David, being the perfectionist that he is, and being his first time out, and just kind of learning how firsthand how to roll with the punches. There was just stuff that he felt like was critical and had to be executed correctly that wasn't the first time, and so he had to go back and make some corrections, which it's I respect a guy who just knows, has a vision for what it is that he wants, and has a tenacious striving to make that happen. So
yeah, well, please let us know when it comes out. We would love to review it if we can. We have reviewed a independent short film before, and it was super fun. It was super hard because you can't give away anything, but we did it, and it was amazing. So if I'm sure, I don't know if it's going to be going to festivals or what it's going to. But if he does any kind of screener process for a review, please let us know, because I want to see it really bad. I'll pay for it. How much does he want? So please keep us in mind for that. And I can't wait to see what you've got next for us. I can't see what happens in all of this. So from all of us here, from the horror community, everyone, thank you for what you've done, and thank you for what you will do, because it is greatly appreciated out here. And I promise you, this time, the horror fan base will not let you down. We will back it with open arms, like a Creed song.
I'll force people to back it if I have to.
He is a Sith. He only deals in absolutes. Don't listen to him.
Well, let's keep this above the law, gentlemen. I appreciate your support, and thanks for help keeping the word out there.
Thanks a lot, man. We really appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
See you.
Later.
Bye.
I would have ended up here no matter what. I made a choice. To provide a counterbalance to all those things that we hold good and pure You chose journalism, okay? This is what we were born to do.
And we are back, man. I gotta say that that Nathan guy is one cool cat.
I agree. That couldn't have gone much better.
Yeah.
If any better.
And special thanks to Jay, because Jay is actually the one that put that together. He is the one that messaged him, asked him if he would come on. He was the one that kept in contact with him to make sure everything was ready to go. So thank you for that, Jay. I highly appreciate it.
I got so lucky. So
yeah, how did that even happen?
Groups. So I'm in a bunch of horror groups on Facebook, obviously, because I like to casually promote our stuff. You know, if someone's like, "Oh man, we just saw Behind the Mask," I'm like, "Oh cool, check out this episode we did with the Star." So I like to be in them casually, and I just like talking about horror movies in general with people.
He likes to explain to people how Get Out is horror and how just because it doesn't scare you does not mean it's not horror.
I've done that a lot. But anyway, so somebody posted a blog entry, and they're like, "I did an interview with Nathan," and they tagged him, like his actual Facebook. I was like, "Oh shit!" And so I clicked it, and I just messaged him. I was like, "Hey, I just saw that someone did an interview with you. How'd you feel about coming on the podcast with us?" He's like, "Yeah, sure. I'm busy for April, but how about March?" I was like, "March is cool." And he was super casual about it. So in the back of my mind, we were always prepared to record our Silent Hill episode for this episode, just in case. But yeah, super casual, super cool. And I'm so glad that it went off and that I actually did it, because all the other celebrities, and stuff that we have lined up for the future and that we've done already have all been Jerry's doing. So I was happy.
I guess it's my turn.
Something.
Yeah, actually, I do have a few that I've got to message and see about setting up a show with. So maybe we'll see about having another one next month.
Because I think Jerry, didn't you got the guy that did Scare House, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, and then now Jay has got Nathan, so I guess it's my turn. I got to figure out some
earn your
similarities,
fucking keep, Kenneth.
You go fuck yourself.
Hey, I will, and then I'll send you the video.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need you to get Robert Englund and then not let Jerry on that episode.
Wow, man.
That's fucking brutal.
Well, he hates the movies.
Wait, if I'm not on there, who's going to interview him?
I'm gonna need you to record.
Jay's not going to be able to. Jay won't be able to get Robert Englund's dick out of his mouth long enough to ask a question.
I'm like, "So, I love your movies," and that's it. It'll just be awkward silence for a half hour.
Well, we can sit here and dream all damn night long about fucking having Robert Englund on here, but all of us
know get his number from Nathan. It's fine.
It is never gonna happen, because I'm pretty sure.
Don't say that. We're gonna be big. People are gonna invite us to fucking cons. Like, hey, you
Dude,
run a panel.
It don't matter what you say, what you or Jerry or anybody else says. I will never be big, no matter how much I pray to God or look up the surgeries online. I will never be big.
You're always a jaw full in my eye. So, yeah, that was.
Need to get a sound box, man. I'm gonna get one.
Speaking of sound box, Jay, turn off your fucking phone.
Yeah, well, so
slut.
I was looking something up and I clicked a stupid video on Facebook by accident.
Oh, that's what. Okay, that makes sense.
And it wasn't on. Like I was scrolling and then I clicked and I was like, no, stop it.
I was like, come on, Jay, you're making us look bad.
I felt really bad. I was like, no, fuck.
I just rolled my eyes and just kept going.
Well, it's better than, things happen. Whatever.
Yeah,
it's
it'll be all right. Sorry, I choked on my tea while we were recording. At one point, he's talking, and all you hear me is go.
I don't know if y'all heard it, but you can hear my cat in the litter box back there. You know what I'm saying? Just scratching the shit out of the litter box. I'm like, oh my God. I just quickly went to it, and I fucking muted it. I was like, fuck.
I know. I heard his dogs at one point.
At home in our non-professional settings, so.
It works out. Hey, you want realism from Kill the Cast? You got fucking realism. What other podcast are you going to hear? Facebook videos, cat shitting, and the host choking to death. Where else do you get that except in some weird ass porno video?
I'd watch that video.
Well, you can. It's on horrorporn.com.
I'd buy that for $1.
So our upcoming show though is going to be the movie Silent Hill. No, it's not RoboCop. Even though I think I do have. I have RoboCop on Blu-ray, the first one.
I have all of them, including the remake on Blu-ray.
Hey, we should totally do that.
What, RoboCop?
Yeah, I think RoboCop would kind of fit.
The first one.
Yeah, there's very horrific things in the first
Kenneth,
RoboCop.
we can do that as a Kill the Cast After Dark episode, and just get real fucked up with it.
Okay.
Like,
you can listen to us jack off while we fucking goddamn watch RoboCop.
Yeah, fucking yeah. So, by the way, if you're on our Patreon, a episode came out that is Patreon only because it is too explicit to put on the main cast, and that's because one night, me, Kenneth, and Alex Edwards of Married with Children and formerly of Skeleton Crew were waiting around to record with Dan Chase on Cut to the Chase. And something happened. Dan Chase was too busy sucking dick to actually be on the show. I'm just kidding. Right. Dan.
No, he's not.
I'm not kidding.
No, he's not.
Fuck
kidding.
you, Dan. I love you, Dan. No, I don't. I love parts of you. Mostly your cone head.
Your cone head.
But, so we were waiting around and something happened and Dan wasn't going to come and we were like, well, we're all three here. Let's not waste it. So we just recorded a thing where we like talk about porn and taxes.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And, yeah, exactly. And that's the thing about it, you know. It's called Kill the Cast After Dark because it was too fucking explicit for us. So
after we discussed fucking pedophilia on the cannibal episode.
Dude, trust me. I mean, it was way fucking out there. So it's like, okay. So if after listening to our previous podcast where we talk about pedophilia and we talk about suicide and other random things that we talk about,
that would be the cannibal episode and the Puppet Master episode for those who are listening.
Yeah, and imagine what our After Dark episode is going to be.
Yeah. Let's do RoboCop and get in. I want to get on one.
Okay,
of these.
well, there we go. But it will be for Patreon members only, just because it's
really weird.
It's really fucking out there. Like there's no holds barred. Pretty much, it's made for people who would get really drunk and try to jack off to the Mr. Ed show because they have like some weird fetish about horses talking to them while they jack off. It's for those kind of people.
That's your thing. You get off to horses with peanut butter in their mouth.
No, I don't. But I'm just saying, like the people who would want to hear the After Dark show are those kind of people, and we talk like that on the After Dark show. So if you want that, you'll have to come over to Patreon, $4 a month, and it will be yours. But speaking of things that are amazing, I'm
going to start reviewing horrorporn.com videos on our Patreon.
Someone message them and see if we can do that.
Yeah, just add it in there, man. We'll do a whole thing where we talk about, horses with peanut butter in their mouth, and we talk about
maybe not that, but maybe we pimp them out or something, and we convince them. We'll talk about that anyway. We've got to
pimp you out.
Hold up, motherfucker. You Jew motherfucker, you. Okay. We had the birthday year bash, guys. It went for 5 rounds. And at the end of it, it came down to 2 points for Jay, 2 points for me, 1 point for Kenneth. And because Kenneth won that round 5, it put Jay and I in a on-the-spot battle. A sudden death. And we now have the results from that. I chose Child's Play, and he chose Gremlins. Now, this was actually a close battle. There was a part where I thought I was about to fucking lose. Ugh. And I had to just like, oh man, the things I had to do. Anyway, but I ended up winning with a total of 22 votes versus Jay's 14 votes. Shout out to my fiance who did not vote for Child's Play, but voted for Gremlins. You know what? Hold on. Here's a fuck you to some of the people who voted for Gremlins instead of voting on my side. Don and Nelly, disappointed. Mosley, how could you not vote for me, Mosley? We boys. We YouTube boys.
Yeah, we're apparently boys too, buddy.
Andrew Scheuer doesn't surprise me. Scott Crawford. Scott, what the fuck, man? Jerry Cortez. Jerry Cortez. I don't think you did. I think you abstained. Jerry Cortez. How could you? Dustin. We are like internet lovers and you treat me like this? Ricky J. Hamilton. Okay, that's not surprising. He voted for Jay. They're great. David S. Smith judging. Joey Fonte. How dare you fucking Italian motherfucker, you. Casey Bates, you son of a bitch. Nelson, I can't say your last name. Eric, I can't say your last name either. And Andrew, what are you people doing? What are you doing to me? Andrew Huff. But that's okay, because I did have people vote for me. My dad voted for me, which is like the first time he's ever like done anything great for me. So I'm just kidding.
Your dad's pretty awesome. So.
That is true. He has a Kill the Cat shirt now. It's balling.
Yeah, Kill the Cat shirt.
He's got a baseball shirt. I need to get
on
that.
the podcast.
Hey, I can make that happen.
Yeah, we should totally have him on there. Like, give him a movie to watch, and let's see what kind of crazy shit your dad.
You know, him and Debbie,
film.
him and Debbie watch a lot of horror movies.
I'm not watching a Serbian film. I have already expressed this.
Kidding. I'm just kidding.
Hey, Jay, podcast After Dark. Me, you, Serbian film, glass of wine or two.
Oh, hell yeah.
For me, it takes
I'll have
several.
to download. So, you want to hear some shit? I thought I was buying the uncut version with all the fucked up shit and the ending in that one scene. And apparently,
No, there's a new version.
Not the uncut.
Nope, there's a new version coming out also.
Well, good. I'll have to buy it and throw this piece of garbage away, because if I'm watching a fucked up movie, I want it to be fucked up to the max.
I saw it, and I saw it. Somebody was selling it in one of those groups.
Yeah, because eBay takes it down a lot.
Yeah.
What?
I was drinking tea. eBay takes it down a lot. They don't. They really don't like a Serbian film.
Yeah, somebody had it, like I said, in one of those groups, and it was like, fucking, they hadn't even opened it.
Damn. Yeah, we need to do that. So yeah, our next two, now that we know that I'm the winner of the birthday year bash, we'll have some kind of new tournament coming up. I don't know if it'll make Silent Hill episode or if it'll be after that. What do I win?
I'm going to give him a handy.
I'm going to get a handy from the loser, which is Jay. Even though technically the real loser is Kenneth because he had 1 point. So really Kenneth should be giving me a handy. But it just sounds better that Jay's doing it since Jay and I went into sudden death.
Yeah.
I'll give you a handy as long as Reese watches.
Fair enough.
I'm down.
So yeah, so our next episode will be Silent Hill, and then our episode after that is our video game episode, where we are going to each bring 5 video games apiece to talk about on that show. It's going to be fucking super fun. So if you're into horror video games, you should get a blast out of it. If you're not, I mean, maybe you want to get into it, hopefully we'll have some good recommendations for you.
Didn't I already pick mine?
Yes. And mine.
Send me those.
I think we all picked ours
What
already.
the fuck do you mean you need me to send it to you? It's in the group chat.
What the fuck?
Yes. Fuck you talking about, homie?
Oh my lord!
I thought you stopped doing drugs.
I did, man. I've got to remember so much shit these days. Like, I never thought in my life that I would have to fucking have a calendar, a physical calendar, not on my phone, but a physical calendar to keep up with shit that I got going on. I never thought I'd have to do that in my life.
I've got one of those too. In fact, I need to erase some things on there because my Strangers Blu-ray from Scream Factory came in, and my Cat of Nine Tails from Arrow came in. So now I'm just waiting for Itchy the Killer and Behind the Mask.
I'm gonna get Behind the Mask. When does that comes out? The end of the month, right?
21st. Yeah. No, 27th. 27th.
I have Ultimate Versus in a steelbook being shipped to me that I bought out of one of the groups I'm in. Ultimate Versus. What is that? I know of a movie called Versus. So it's the ultimate. It's all the extra content version of Versus. Oh, okay. Okay. But it's in a steelbook. I didn't even know that existed, and I got it for like $13 shipped to my door. So I'm pretty happy about that. Nice. What region is that? Is it region fucking B or? No, it's A. It's ours. Shit. Yeah.
Well, Behind the Mask it says March 27th.
Yeah, I already corrected myself on that one.
Because I'm looking at my Amazon, and then I've got The Burbs coming on March 20th.
Nice. Yeah, March 20th, I've got Itchy the Killer. 4K restoration, 4K scan. It's not a 4K Blu-ray, just regular Blu-ray. But it's a 4K scan, and I can't wait to see if it makes that movie look any better, because that movie does not look that great on the DVD. There's some scenes that just look kind of really bad, so I'm hoping it improves some things, but I love that movie, so I cannot wait for that to come in.
I saw somebody do something in one of the groups where they were doing a comparison of one of the scenes from Itchy and then one from the original Blu-ray release, and I was like, I mean, it looked different, but then I was like, that movie hasn't come out yet, has it?
There is a Blu-ray release, but it's an earlier Blu-ray release, but it's super hard to find and super expensive. So most
I'm
people
talking about like from the new one.
Oh,
And
well,
I'm-
no, Well Go USA put out screenshots.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, they were trying to show the difference in it, and because somebody was selling that Blu-ray, the first Blu-ray release in the and they were asking for an ungodly amount of money.
Oh God,
And,
yes.
Yeah, so I was like, screw that. And then I don't have a 4K TV, but I think I'm gonna order that anyway.
Yeah, that's a movie I would love to do on the show. One, because I love fucking Takashi Miike. He is you cocksucker. Listen here. Okay.
Have you seen his JoJo Bizarre's Adventure live action movie?
No, but he
then you
literally
don't love
put
him
out
so
his
much.
100th film this year. His 100th
I know,
full-length
and it's
directed
really
movie.
good.
I haven't
It's
seen it. That's
really
the other one
good.
I need to order that.
Oh man, I bought the steelbook from Best Buy blind just because it was him and it was Samurai's, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's
it's
not even
based on a
including his
manga.
TV work.
Yeah, I know. It's based on a manga, and it definitely feels like you're watching a Asian comic book movie.
Yeah.
Like the character designs and shit is just fantastic.
I mean, but still, like, nonetheless, think about that. He's directed 100 movies plus TV shows. Like, because he did, and plus just, not only just like single TV shows, but like full series. Like, he directed the entire MPD Psycho, which is like 6 episode, like hour-long shows, I believe.
Yeah, I did that.
You did that? You directed MPD Psycho?
No. I did it as well. Like he did it, but I also did it.
Oh,
so
what
it's not
was
that big of
yours?
a big deal.
Hold on, what was yours?
It was called MBD Psycho 2:
Okay.
The Return.
Oh, okay. So now for yours, like, how did you handle did you like go back and was like, man, I really want to do the Flower Pot Children, where like the serial killer
used the
has
name,
Oh.
and I recorded myself playing video games for an hour.
Dude, if you actually want to read a really fucked up manga, the MPD Psycho manga is super fucked up.
I do like fucked up
like
things.
like one of the early things that happens, like the first manga, is like the guy gets a like package in it. It's like the cooler, and he opens the cooler, and it's his like fiance, and her fucking arms and legs are cut off, and she's
Wow,
being
what's in
like
the
kept
box, man?
alive by by like an oxygen mask and like an IV, and she's like just sitting in there in a fucking pool of water. Brutal shit. But the MPD Psycho, the series is good, but the TV show, it's good, but it's a little fucking long. And unfortunately, there is no uncensored version of it because it was made for TV, and Takashi Miike purposely obscured things with like you know when you're watching Japanese porn and all the genitals are blurred out?
Yeah,
They do that in the movie or in the TV show, and there's no uncut
they
version
blur
of
the
it.
genitals out.
Well, they blur out like extreme gore, which really sucks for like a movie that has, or a TV show that has like people like the murdered victims are planted into the ground and their skulls are cut open and a plant's planted in there, and so you're just like, oh, that's a cute
it's
plant.
like
And
Motel Hell or whatever.
yes, kind of like that, except their heads are not above the ground because they're already
Oh.
dead, so they're underground. So it's just a flower, but then when you start digging, you'll like see that flower is planted in a brain, and then there's the whole fucking body underneath there.
That's awesome.
Yay!
It's pretty awesome. So yeah, but I think that's it for this episode, guys. We just kind of wanted to bullshit around a little bit after the interview and do a couple of little updates so you know what our next 2 shows are. Who knows what we're gonna do in April? Because I don't know yet.
Elvira, the Mistress of the Dark.
Oh god, I'd play with her titties all day long.
I think we should do the movie
Wow.
because I've got it sitting right here. I bought it the other day for $5.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that's something we will get into. But yeah, so for
I'd love to.
Yeah. So for us at Kill the Cast, we just want to say thank you to everyone who asked questions. Thank you for everyone that's been supporting us, whether you post in the group, you listen to the shows, you are on our Patreon. No matter what you do for us, even if you just listen to the show and you don't even interact, thank you. We couldn't be doing this without. I mean, we could, but it would be kind of dumb and pointless. So you're our reason. Like, go listen to the song "The Reason" by Hoobastank and just picture us singing that to you. Because, except that song kind of sucks. So anyway, the point is we love all of y'all. Thank you for your support. Thank you for just everything you do for us. We really do appreciate it. Make sure you're checking out the YouTube channel. We've got cool stuff going on there. I know both Jay and I didn't do this last top 5.
No, I've been sick too. So
he's been sick. I had some personal stuff going on my life, and I just did not have the time to do it.
Yeah. Plus, it was witches, and I haven't seen enough movies. Like, I've barely seen 5 witch movies.
Here's our top 5 witch movies, okay?
Warlock.
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch at number 5. Number 4, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Number 3, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Number 2, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. And number 1, Hocus Pocus. Thank you all for joining us on this episode of Kill the Cast. I hope you enjoyed our interview with Nathan. I hope all of you will take up the mantle and support whenever they do something. They do a Kickstarter, whatever it is. We have to get behind that. We have to. You heard how hard it is, how hard it's going to be for them to like stop their lives to go and make this. So if they actually go to do it, we all have to be there. I want all of you supporting it. Pre-order a Blu-ray, throw them $10. Don't go out to eat like twice. Instead, give that $10 each time you'd go eat fast food. Give it to them. You don't need it.
Oh man, I'm definitely going to get fast food after this.
Fair enough.
In the arms of an angel.
What he said. So, without further ado, make sure you check out the YouTube. Make sure you give us iTunes reviews. We need to do a giveaway soon. So in the Facebook group, give me ideas of what y'all want for the next giveaway, or what you want to do for the next giveaway. I already have a box of stuff to give away. So I just need to know, what should we do? You know, interaction. Tell us. Thank you for everyone who participated in the birthday year bash. I'm super stoked y'all were involved in that. We'll be doing that again soon, except with it'll be another bash, but it's not going to be a birthday bash. We'll see what the bash is. So guys, do y'all have anything to say? Jay, you got anything you want to say?
Nah, thanks for listening, guys. We love you. We'll see you later.
Kenneth, you got anything to say?
Nah.
No? Okay. And I think I've said enough this entire fucking time. So, thank you everyone. We will see you next time on Kill the Cast.